show. Speak up. Speak up.
Huh. My mic is on.
Yo, I can hear you.
I can barely hear you. Let's see my volume. My volume's up.
What else is
Say
up?
something. Yeah, something. I'm not really hearing you.
Really?
Pardon my reach.
Ugh.
Well, I'm plugged in, and the mic is on. So you can hear me okay?
I can.
Oh, now I hear you better. Okay.
Is that
Okay.
better?
Now I can hear you better.
What'd you do?
I touched it.
I can hear myself.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Here, let me turn you up. I'm going to turn you up.
Turn it up. And see, like right now,
Now I
you're
can
coming in very fuzzy.
Well, don't worry about that. That's okay. That's just the thing, the buffering.
It says actual recording is higher quality. Well, that sounds about right.
Listen, we can only hope. But can you hear me okay now?
Honey, that's all I do is hope.
But can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, is there a delay?
No.
Why'd you take so long to answer then? Oh my God.
Why do you sense there's a delay?
No, I sense there's a delay in your tone. Do you have a problem with me right now?
Tone.
Oh,
No.
wow, you do.
I'm good.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Guess what
Yes.
this is? See this right here?
Well, I know what you're pointing at, the big black thing.
Yes, that's a microphone. Guess what? I wasn't using it correctly.
What? In previous episodes?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is this the right microphone? Because apparently I've been using the wrong microphone for the last few recordings, so I have to apologize to our guest. Gary's sound is probably great. Mine was not great. So guess what? This is a microphone, Don. This is how you use it. Yeah, it works. Sorry, guys. Caution to the wind.
On a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a crazy, stressful week. I'll say
Stressful. You okay?
that. Work related because of what's going on out there with a certain thing called tariffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's wreaking havoc. I can check one thing off my list real quick. Is that I talked about this before. Today I went to the lawyer's office to sign my updated living trust.
Oh, good for you.
Finally.
Good for you. I'm just
So
finishing
now they'll
editing
just,
that
I've
one.
signed everything and they notarize it and they'll just send me copies.
Good.
And
Does
I
it feel
can
good?
check that off the list. That was a project that I wanted to get done this year.
Does it feel good to have that finished?
Yeah, it does, finally, because I just waited way too long to update it. I originally did my living trust in 2011, so it only took me 14 years.
Well, I don't think you waited too long. I think it's good to actually finish it. I'm just doing the same thing, changing financial institutions for my portfolio and getting the last signatures done. So we're kind of running. You won. You beat me.
Well, this time. But we're not keeping score, are we?
I am.
So we missed out on leading up, coming out of April, the NSYNC song, It's Gonna Be May. And then had we recorded on Sunday, we could have said, May the 4th be with you, but we didn't do that.
Right. I knew you were waiting
And
for
did
that.
you celebrate Cinco de Mayo?
No, I was working. I had things to do. But this weekend was really fun because we went to the Beach Life Festival, which is basically a huge music celebration. I haven't done that before. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting group of people. I have to say, the ladies who rock were on force. We saw Lenny Kravitz, we saw Alanis Morissette, we saw Susanna Hoffs.
Oh, wow.
But you know who the superstar was? The superstar was Chrissy Hine from The Pretenders. She
Wow.
is 74 years old and she had the most amazing set of music. She was like pumping that music out. She's a hard rock hard rock woman. And she
Hard
just
rock
did.
woman.
Yeah, they have some hits for sure, but just the musicianship and the way she did it and how professional she was, it was amazing. And 74 years old, and she was cranking it out. It was amazing.
And where was this held?
Over in Redondo Beach, it's a huge area over in Redondo Beach called Beach Life Festival, basically hosted by Skechers, who were sold recently for $4 billion, just so you know, because they're a local company here in Manhattan Beach. So anyway, yeah, side note. But it was great fun. I do have some footage. The ladies like to rock. And what I mean by that is all the ladies, I've got some posts of some ladies that are just going crazy dancing. It was fun. I mean, it was fun. I don't know if I would do it again, but it was great to go. It was great to see live bands because I don't often see that. So what about you? How was your weekend? I know you had stressful work week, but what about the rest?
Yeah, but I had a nice day. Sunday was a beautiful day out weather-wise, so I went to Golden Gate Park. Every Sunday they have free concerts in the band shell, so listen to music. There were Polish dancing groups there, so it was fun.
Okay.
And I went into the museum, so just kind of made an afternoon of just being out and about in the park, so it was nice. And then coming up on Mother's Day this weekend, so we're getting together with my mom and some other folks for a Saturday dim sum brunch the day before Mother's Day.
Ooh,
So that'll be fun. Yeah.
I miss dim sum. Good dim sum.
Yeah. So,
I need some.
Yeah, so that's what's been going on.
So give me some dim sum.
Yes. So do we want to talk about what we're going to talk about?
Sure. Gary's, this was your idea. I thought it was a great one. So what we're going to talk about this week is retiring overseas and what that means. We're also going to talk very briefly about our new website and the relaunch of our Facebook page first, but eventually we're going to circle back, retiring overseas and all the benefits, why it's so popular right now, why people are really, I guess, would you say they're really gravitating towards doing this, Gary? Is there a lot of it happening?
There's a leaning towards that, but there's also some challenges that get brought up. So we'll talk about the pros and cons,
Yes, the pros and cons.
and
So yeah,
if
we're-
you're able to do it.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about that. It seems I know actually a few people that I've worked with in the past who have actually gone and done this, and there are a few websites I want to mention that are actually really helpful and good resources for that if you're interested in doing so. So
Yeah.
we'll be back in a minute.
All right then. All right then.
Okay then. Anyway, sorry.
Suck with the mic. Oh, we're back on high.
We're back. Welcome to Don and Gary Doin 60. We're here to unwrap, unpack, and navigate the world at this age. Listen, we want to talk very briefly about our new website. We're very excited. It's hosted by Podpage. The website is basically your all-in-one shopping point for Don and Gary Doin 60. You can leave feedback that will go directly to Spotify and Apple podcasts. You can actually leave reviews. We have a blog on there. And also what's really exciting is we have voicemails. So I'm really looking forward to having people leave us some voicemails soon. Also, our new Facebook page has been relaunched at a new, basically, address, and I'll post that here and also in the credits later. But on with the show, Gary.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, yes. Well, before we talk about living abroad or retiring abroad,
Yes.
I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but when I was pulling all this different information, one of the articles that came up was there's always top 10 lists of everything, right? So this was the top 10 list of happiest countries. So if you're like thinking, if I don't want to continue living in this country, where would I want to live? And there's different resources out there. And this I thought was interesting was they do this, it's called the World Happiness Report. And for 2025, so these numbers are based on studies or data they collected in 2022 through 2024. And they list, on a scale 1 to 10, rate these things in your life. And they look at such things as GDP, the gross domestic product per capita, a healthy life expectancy, social support or having someone to count on, so you're not feeling isolated, freedom to make key life decisions, perceptions of corruption in government and business. So they look at, what makes you happy and what is your life like. And so here are the top 10. And two of them are on the top 10 list for the first time, Mexico and Costa Rica. Mexico came in number 10. Number 9, Luxembourg, Israel, Norway, number 7, Costa Rica, number 6, first time on this top 10 list, Netherlands, Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, and the number 1 country, happiest country, for the 8th year in a row, Finland. So apparently living in Finland, Denmark areas, that's where you're going to be the happiest. The least happiest, number 147, the bottom of the list, Afghanistan, for the 6th consecutive year.
Yeah.
And there's several other countries above that. But I said, well, where does the U.S. rank? Well, they started this collecting of data in 2012. So that's the first year they did it. At that time, the U.S. was number 11. So like, all right, we're at the top 10, but we were number 11. Now we're number 24. So we've dropped a few pegs. So I thought that was interesting. But what prompted this reason for having this conversation was I saw a short interview on CBS Sunday Morning. It's about a retired American couple. They are from Mendocino County in California, Northern California. And they're both retired. I think a lot of folks, like, based on what I have now, in terms of money, the people in my life, my support system, whatever, do I want to continue living here? Or is there something more better out there somewhere? And of course, some people have traveled in their years and I really love Italy, or I really love, somewhere in South America. They might have a destination that is their go-to. They like to visit. But would they consider living there? And there's a lot of resources out there that give you the pros and cons. So this particular couple, I guess they traveled. They ended up moving to Gozo, an island of Malta in the Mediterranean. So it's not it's not the Londons, it's not the Paris, it's not the whatever, but they found this, and the reasons why they liked it was a low cost of living. They said if they only relied on the income they get from Social Security, they wouldn't be able to live in the U.S. to sustain their lives. I mean, California, expensive state. But they did keep their house in Mendocino, so they rented out. So the money they get from the rental, plus Social Security, allows them a fairly comfortable life in this island called Gozo. They do have to, get their own health care. It's private insurance, but it's less than Medicare in the U.S.
Right.
But depending on where you live, they talk about some things that could be a con, and one could be like a language barrier. They found that challenging, so depending on where you choose to live, if you don't speak another language or the language of that country, that could be a bit of
Couldn't that be part of the
that was
process, though, to learn the language? I mean, that's part of assimilating into a new country. I mean, you can't just assume
Right.
everyone's going to speak English, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, and we'll get into the different things they talk about, how they decide whether or not this is the right place. Well, and obviously you have to have gone there at least to visit, and maybe multiple times, because just because you went there one time and had one fabulous 2-week vacation doesn't mean you're going to automatically move there, right?
Right.
But, so that was their story. There was another woman who, from the U.S., moved to Italy in her 20s. And it didn't say whether it was for work or study, but she was there in her 20s, liked it. But at some point, she said the slower pace of life in Italy didn't agree with her. She wanted to, be doing things, and it was, the culture's different, obviously the language. She says, they said in the specific case of Italy, the houses are very small, so they're not meant for like people to hang out their house and have parties. So they're always going out. They're out and about at the bar, at the restaurant, at the beach, at the park, whatever. And she's like, well, I kind of want to just hang out at the house. And so certain things just don't agree with her. But
How old was she again, Gary?
Well, she moved to Italy in her 20s.
Okay.
It doesn't say how old she is now. But I guess she reached a compromise. She's able to live there for maybe 6 months of the year, and in the U.S. for 6 months of the year. So she can kind of have a balance where when she's feeling a little tightly wound in one country, she'll just go back to her other home. So, I mean, not everyone can do that, right? I mean, for some of us, if we're going to up and move, we're going to like sell our home, because that's going to help in our retirement to live our new life. So everyone's got a different story. Before I go on, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Because I just wanted to comment on this person, because it's interesting, as Americans traveling to other countries, we are very much accustomed to certain ways of living, and I would say that traveling to anywhere in Europe, you're not going to have anywhere close to the same, and I don't mean this in any way disparaging, but the size of homes in the States is much larger always, for the most part, to city living in any major European city. For example, France, if you're in Paris, and you've been to Paris a number of times, apartments there are very small. And the idea is that you're not supposed to spend a ton of time locked up in your apartment. And, there's so much to see in Europe, in Paris, in Spain.
Exactly.
There's no in Italy, too. I mean, there are definitely nice villas to live in. But if you're living city life, you should be getting out and doing stuff. It can't be just that you're sitting in your palatial McDonald's mansion that are being built everywhere in the States. So, I mean, I can see how it's not good for everybody, but, being realistic when you go to Europe is that there's going to be a very different way, and I don't mean standard, just a different way of living. If you're not open to that, I think it's a challenge to go over there. If you're not open to change or challenge, like ready to make that accommodation, it's important that you're ready for it. Side note, I did see the same 60-minute special of the couple. It was very interesting to watch because I think they looked like a very nice couple, and they seemed like they had found their vibe in
Yeah.
what was the place called again? I forgot.
Where they moved to, it said Gozo. It's an
Gozo.
island of Malta in the Mediterranean.
Yes, which looked amazing actually.
Yeah, I think, for them, it was like they want to enjoy life,
Yeah.
go, sit in a plaza and have a glass of wine or go for a walk or do whatever. When we talk about pros and cons, here's a list of things that had come up. That'll come up when you're trying to decide, I do this or do I want to do this?
Right.
And things to consider. And in no particular order, but your financial status. Like, obviously, if you're going to live somewhere else, well, whether you retire in the States or live somewhere else, how much savings do you have? Do you have a retirement account? How much debt do you have? If you have, like, a home, are you going to keep it and rent it out? Or are you going to sell it and use that towards your retirement? Depending on what country you're going to, are visas required? Is there a language barrier? Also, for example, you like going to Palm Springs because you like the heat. So depending on where you're going, if it's too tropical or too dry heat, or it snows, whatever it is, you have to be agreeable to that, or know that you're going to have to flex your schedule if the climate becomes an issue. Cost of living. If we have to compare, like, how far is my money going to go there versus here? This couple we talked about, they had to get private insurance. For them, what they found was it was less expensive than if you were to get Medicare here. They found an apartment, it was $750 per month. Where's that going to happen here in the States, right?
And I saw that apartment. I saw a shot of the apartment where they live. I'm sure it's a very different standard than what they're used to in Mendocino, because it was a very European apartment. I saw a shot of it. So it's a little more simple.
Yeah.
It probably has a laundry in the kitchen, all those things that most of European homes have. So, I mean, I think they did make an adjustment, but they seemed happy.
Yeah, they did. So, and, they also talk about, are you the type of person that is going to, like, if you move to another place, just kind of like settle in, as they appear to have done? They settle into that community and they're happy, so their expenses aren't really high. Or are you the type that, I want to travel? Once you're in Europe, for example, it's so easy to go by train to all these different countries. Are you going to spend your time traveling? Well, then you're going to have to plan for higher retirement money in order to keep up that lifestyle, right? So you have to plan ahead of how much money do I have, how much do I plan to spend, so how much do I need? We talked about the political climate and safety. For some people, are you going to buy or rent when you get there, right? And because can't always be easy. I remember you fantasized the movie that I mentioned to you before,
Under the
Tuscan Sun with Diane Lane, right? She was just traveling on a tour group through Tuscany, and the bus stopped in front of a house that said for sale, and something spoke to her. So she got off the bus, ended up buying the house, and it needed a lot of work. So, and it was unexpected things that came up, that if you're in a foreign country, it's not you can just call your contractor and have them come right away and fix it, right? So there's all kinds of layers there that you have to go through. So definitely a lot of pros and cons to think about. But a lot of it the main thing has to be on your financing of it. Yep. Can you afford to do it?
Absolutely.
We've talked about, like, when I retire, do I keep my place? Do I sell it and move somewhere else? Where am I going to move? I don't really want to move out of the area because my family and friends are here. So there's a lot that goes into it, and that's kind of something I'm kind of struggling with, trying to figure out what I want to do. There's, I think, another time we'll talk about retirement facilities or senior communities. I think we'll talk about that separately, but that's another consideration. But depending on where that facility is, I've looked just to here in California, and they are super expensive.
Let's dive into that a little bit too, because I was looking at all the pros and cons myself, and I think one of the biggest factors is healthcare.
Yeah.
So just so you know, the United States has the most expensive healthcare in the world. It's the most expensive anywhere you can go. So that in itself is a huge determining factor for many people. But there's other things to remember that, for example, when you're going there, like this couple that you mentioned, they had to go and get their own independent healthcare locally. But because the costs are so prohibitive in the States, it's still less expensive than having your health care in the United States, which is not always that great to begin with. it's also very expensive. And if there's anything catastrophic happening, you have this huge cost that in debt you can go into just to treat. Many of the countries that people are moving to are basically socially run, so there's a social program where the healthcare is basically free if you're paying into it. So I think that's a major factor. The other thing is taxes. As a citizen of the States and going to get a citizenship in another country, you're still expected to pay taxes when you get your Social Security. So you'll be getting taxed on whatever you bring in monetarily to the country. You could also be taxed, you're being taxed in the States to begin with, then you're being taxed in the country that you go to. So there's a couple, because you also have to contribute some money to the country that you're living in. So that's another factor that people need to take a look at. And then Social Security itself, yes, you can absolutely take your Social Security. You never lose it if you leave the States, but it has to be mailed to you. So you have to make sure that you're accessible to getting Social Security. So, I mean,
these days you can have it electronically deposited, direct deposit into an account that has like an overseas connection or whatever country you're in. Yeah. And we keep talking about Europe, but it could be, Central South America.
Absolutely. And I
Asia,
just happen...
It can be anywhere, right?
And I have a list of the top high-quality medical services in each country. So and this is just not in a specific order, but Colombia in South America, France, Ireland, Italy, Malta, Spain, and Thailand, believe it or not, are one of the most
Those
desirable...
are ones with the best...
Yes, some of the best healthcare programs.
Oh, okay.
And yes, so I mean, I didn't think Thailand, but I assumed Spain, Portugal, those kinds of places. I didn't think about Colombia, and I definitely didn't think about, like I said, Thailand. So, there is a lot of places. Just real quick note, I was listening to a podcast this morning. Isaac Mizrahi used to have a podcast. He was speaking to Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's. Did you know that she has actually not lived in the States for many, many years? She has lived a very long time in Indonesia and in France. And now she's currently living in Mexico City. And she only comes back to the States to do performances with the Go-Go's or if she has some kind of commitment socially. But she hasn't lived here for 100 years. And she really loves it, actually. So I just thought that's an interesting person to call out.
Well, since you're on that conversation, I was thinking about why people choose to leave the U.S. to move somewhere else. You mentioned a couple ideas. Maybe they really enjoyed spending time vacationing in X country. And if they went multiple times, like, you know what, when we retire, let's consider moving here. So there's that, right? So there's something drawing them to another country for like an easier life, a quieter life, not so frenetic as it is here, as it has been here. And some are politically motivated. Oh. When a certain person was possibly going to be winning the presidency, someone said, if this person wins, I'm leaving the U.S. Mm-hmm. Some did, right?
Yep.
DeGeneres moved to Ireland, I believe.
Rosie O'Donnell moved to Ireland, I believe. I'm not sure where Ellen went. Where did she go to Ireland too?
Well, there were photos of her in Ireland, but maybe she doesn't live there. But anyway, that's just one example. But now we'll say that George Clooney has a home in Italy, Lake Como, and he's lived there for years. And it wasn't politically motivated. I think they just didn't want to be stuck in the rat race of Hollywood and California, and they just wanted to. He had the money, and they had a nicer lifestyle to raise their family there. So they did it for different reasons, and that's his main home. Obviously they could have multiple homes, but that's the one he lives in most of the time.
And I think,
have you ever been invited?
Well, no, he and I don't speak anymore because we broke up, and I've got a restraining order on him. It's a long story. We can't go. We'll do that on another podcast. But to your point,
yes,
like change of pace and new experiences, I think that's a really big thing because, if you're living, who knows where you're living in the States, but change of pace, I mean, adjusting to a European life or a South American life or a life in Mexico, very different things. So I think your mindset has to be prepared. And of course, you said you've had to visit first, but I think sometimes it's a little more difficult for older people to make that adjustment. So you've really got to be prepared in your mind to be open to these changes. Right. The other thing that comes up with a change of pace and new experiences is your family. Does your family, will they be able to come and visit you? I think this couple in the 60 Minutes piece, they said they couldn't get rid of their family. They kept visiting them, right? So It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, no, in that same story, there was another woman who they interviewed in the same story that she also lived on the same island. And she's the one that said, don't you get lonely? Because she moved there by herself. She's like, no, I have people visiting like every week. So can't get
And I was very impressed with that woman, too, because she did this on her own. But again, back to the other point, she's open to new experiences. She was ready for a change. Right. And as you mentioned with George Clooney, George Clooney and I, well, we can't talk about that on.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But it's a brand new experience. So in many ways, it's something that's really eye-opening. It can definitely revitalize you if you're, as you said, get out of the rat race of living in the city or the mundane life of living in the middle of the country somewhere on a farm. I mean, there's a lot that you can choose your experiences too, it's very enticing. Sure. It's a great idea. Yeah. So, there's a lot to be said for it.
How you go about figuring out what that destination is. If you're someone who's traveled a lot, that could be one way. This one couple that were from Houston, he and his wife ended up moving to Barcelona, Spain, and they've written a book called Silver Nomads. And they give a lot of the same reasons why they moved there. The money goes further there than in the U.S. Healthcare is of higher quality and less expensive. You will get to experience the joys of cultural exploration just by walking out the door. Mm-hmm. The best part is you can have this life while spending significantly less money than you would by living in the politically unhinged land of America. But, so he has a blog, and I read a lot of the comments, and they seem pretty well versed. They've done a lot of research, and this book, and if you go to the website, they give a lot of tips, because someone said, what about Portugal? What about this? And he seems to have done a lot of homework. So this is like their thing now, is to be like a mentor to anyone who's considering in their retiring ages to consider, living in another country. What is that like? And they give them the pros and cons and questions and, things to study. So I thought that was pretty interesting. In their retirement, they've made a new life of coaching other people.
And so that's another, they reinvented basically a career out of that. Yeah, right. And I think, it's interesting to talk to, why do we think people are doing this? Why is it, obviously we talked about the pros and cons of it, and you said we both think it's pretty popular. I know a couple of people who've actually gone off and done it. The thing is, I can't imagine it's just the political climate, but I think it has a lot to do with quality of life and, as you said, and we've spoken before, finances. The reality is it's very difficult to retire in the United States unless you have X number of dollars in the bank. And the healthcare can sap your savings away. And if you didn't plan, and we talked about, doing our financial planning on a previous episode, if you haven't done that, you have maybe a redemption by making this choice to move to Europe. I have to say, on a side note, the person that I know that went there to Portugal, it was very daunting because if you think about it, they had to sell their home, they had to sell all their belongings, basically, unless what they could carry with them. They had to do all of the, trips over there to find a place to live, because you can't just move over there with your bags and hope you can find a place to live. Plus, you have to do a little research, because I didn't know where I lived in the South Bay before I moved here. I didn't know the neighborhoods. You have to go and do some real pounding the pavement to see where you would find as a good place to live and what's recommended. So it's a very daunting experience, too. It can be very scary.
Well, one of the suggestions was, when we talk about moving there, is that don't buy something right away. What you might want to rent in an area that you think you like. Work with a realtor to get a feel for what's available, and is this the right neighborhood or the right city that I want to be living in, that I want to retire in. So don't commit to, because once you buy, it's like, that's a big chunk that you're taking on. So rent first, live there for a period of time, work with locals, get more information. There's another top 10 list, the world's top 10 retirement havens.
Okay.
For 2025. So if you don't know where you want to go, maybe you haven't traveled that much, but where should I consider living? This is what they're saying are the top 10 of where a lot of people retire. Number 10 is Thailand, since you mentioned that earlier. Italy, Greece, Malaysia, Spain, France, Mexico, Costa Rica. I've heard a lot of people mention Portugal, and that's number 2. But number 1 is Panama, which I'd never seen on any lists. Oh. And what they say about Panama is it's far more developed and modern than most people anticipate. It offers first world convenience at Central American prices. So I like the way they worded that. So you can still take a taxi across for a few dollars, see the latest blockbuster film for about $6, blah, blah. You can do this. You can have a main course and glass of wine at one of the city's innumerable restaurants for $20. So again, it's one of those where your money goes a lot further there. Cost of living, it's not the cheapest country in the region, but your dollar will still stretch further than it does up north, meaning us. So they said a couple can live well here, Panama, for $2,500 a month or less, including rent. But, again, everyone's going to have a different experience.
Well, let me ask you, Gary, what do you think the reason is for all this new found? I mean, if you were if you could choose the top two reasons, what do you think they would be?
So I always thought that one of them would be, I call it a fantasy to live out your remaining years in a place that you have to have visited because you have to be familiar with it. I have an affinity to Spain and Italy and France, right? So not that I would retire there, but had I thought about it, oh gosh, would I consider buying a place? But then you think you're so far away. And to do it on your own, that would be, I would not consider that on my own. So I think part of it is the fantasy of living that La Dolce Vita, with the plazas and the, just people hanging out. And especially if you live in a small town, there's that sense of community that maybe you don't get here where you live because everyone's, behind their door or, at their computer. Maybe it's an easier, quieter life. So that's the fantasy part of it. And the other one, they could just be for financial reasons. Thinking about, since we're talking about finances, again, more tables to look at. Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, this is from 2022, is what the average retirement savings should be. They say from ages 55 to 64, you should have over $500,000 in savings. 65 to 74, over $600,000. So talk about, when you're planning ahead, like I have 2 401ks. They talk about some, companies may not offer that. So are you saving money on your own towards the future? I think when you're younger, you don't think about it. As you get older, they said another recommendation is at age 60, you should have 8 times your annual salary set aside in retirement savings. This is to generally maintain your current lifestyle in retirement. By age 67, you should have 10 times your annual salary, right? It's very daunting. Things to consider is planning ahead. At what age do I want to retire?
Right.
And how much you have to map out. How much am I spending now? And thinking to the future, because I did this exercise with my financial planner. Was okay. So we're looking at age 67. Okay. So how much are you spending now? And we did a whole spreadsheet of everything, your monthly expenses, and then factoring in some things going up, obviously, and then looking at what do we have right now in my 2 accounts. But still, it's just scary because it's the unknown. It's the unexpected hospital stay. It's like, I need to buy a new car because mine just died. Right? There's unexpected expenses that throw a wrench into what you thought was, I'm good with this every month. So it's difficult to plan ahead, but there should be a lot of planning that we should be working on.
Yeah, and I would say I don't have a desire to go and move to Europe myself, although it'd be, as a fantasy, as you said, it would be great. I love to pull my own under the Tuscan sun. I would love to do that. And I actually have another friend whose name is Tim who actually went to France, bought a small, really old building in Bordeaux and has been renovating it. But he also travels and he takes advantage of all of it. I don't know that I would take advantage of traveling, but I would say, in my opinion, the number one reason for people moving is financial and healthcare, as a subnote. Financially, because, as you said, the statistics you gave us requires so much money to be squirreled away in retirement in the States, where if you have not done the planning, and we mentioned this briefly before, but if you have not done the planning or you haven't had the time or something stopped you from reaching those milestones in your savings career or your savings journey, you're not screwed, but you can have a much better chance of having a quality of life in Europe. So I would say it's financial first. Political definitely as a subnote, but financial and healthcare.
Right, yeah.
It's daunting living here in the States. It's so crazy. It's so expensive to live here. Not just we're conditioned in California, but because we're desensitized from costs. because it's just always so expensive. I mean, I think it's a very good idea for people to consider it. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I can't find it right now, but one of the things that I had written down, but I can't find it on my notes, was that currently, at least Americans, are not saving as much as they used to for higher cost of living or all the unexpected things that come up. So when I see all these articles that pop up like, how far will $1 million go in savings? It's like, when am I going to reach $1 billion in savings, right? Can I retire in $1 million? Like, well, if I get there, I'll let you know. But I think it's just very overwhelming to think about how much you need to have, because we don't know how long we're going to live.
Right.
You know, I half jokingly with my financial planner, he says, well, I go, my mom is going to be 98 this year. My dad lived to be 92. My two grandmothers lived to be 92. He goes, oh, well, then you got to plan for another 30 years. Like, 30 years?
Well, Gary,
if I'm only planning to work 4 or 5 more years.
Yes, but I was
I was finishing editing our podcast about financial planning. Basically, we've told each other that we have to live to at least 95. So that's what our financial, and I think you took 95, I said 93, and that's a long shot. But I mean, you're absolutely right. It's very scary. It is scary, and the fact that you can have a possible better quality of life outside of the country is a very real dream for people right now. I think that they're as you say, people are not saving the way they used to. We're boomers, so we were kind of taught to do that because our parents were also probably very frugal. They didn't spend a lot of money, outlandishly. Yeah. We're much better at it, but I would say the generations that are coming up are not saving money at all. So it's... Well, I'll be honest with me, like, the goal is to contribute to your 401k on a monthly basis. Like, I live alone and I have my mortgage and like all the other expenses everyone else does. Mm-hmm. And I have not contributed in quite some time to one of my accounts. The other one, actually, the company started. So all the one that's in there is they put in there. I haven't.
That's great. But they're matching.
So, but with the 2 accounts, it's a nice amount, but it's still daunting to think about. 30 more years? What?
What was it? Oh, but here's the thing. Like, we're kind of going this path, but some things that I've noticed, and we're kind of doing the same thing. People who are saving money are not bragging about saving money. They also are not buying a new car every 2 years, like a lot of people do. Right. They're not moving all the time. They're not ordering DoorDash for every meal. So you and I, we don't do that. Our people don't do that. Here's the weirdest thing. I found, and I didn't realize this until I started looking at my statements a little more closely. Do you know, I was spending close to $300 a month on Starbucks. You go off on the weekend, you buy your friend, I want to buy you a coffee, let's do this. And so I was literally spending about $300, maybe more, a month. So you know what I did? I went to Nordstrom Cafe, I bought 2 pounds of their espresso coffee, and I'm bringing my coffee to work now. And I'm using that coffee. And what costs $25 as opposed to $300. These are these things that you can do if you make those adjustments. You like to walk. You're not driving. You were driving to work, and we've talked about this before. You're saving so much money on your commute now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's another way to channel
I got
money.
in my car today to run some errands. I'm like, wow, I still have like almost a full tank of gas because I haven't used my car.
Right, and I think that's a pretty good thing. And those, even though they're not massive amounts of money, they are money that you spent every month that you can now sock away or take that money and literally just say, okay, whatever that number was, you say, okay, I'm going to take that money now and put it away. So I know we went off a little side note on this, but I think, it's important as we are aging with this option. If I had the wherewithal to do it, I would love to try and move to Spain and get a place. The travel to and from, I'd want to spend I'd like to spend the season in Spain and come back, whatever the season is, maybe the winters.
There's a woman I think of who, she's from Canada, and every year, and I don't know for how long, but it's probably a few months, like maybe a whole summer or something, that she goes down to Mazatlan and she rents a place at a little hotel there that is run by my family. So what they have on-site storage for her, so that they have her personal furniture that's in storage. Really? And when she tells them, I'm coming on the 12th, and they will get her unit ready. They take out the stuff that's normally there and they rent out, and they put in her furniture for the season, X number of months that she's there. And she's been doing that consistently for years. That's her way of doing it. So she still has her place in Canada and has her life there.
Yep.
And I don't know if she comes by herself or if friends and family come to visit, but this is her thing. So you don't necessarily have to bite off the whole thing and completely move and sell everything and sell all your belongings to move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. If you're able to, if your house is paid off, and whether you want to rent it while you're gone or not, you have that to come home to and either travel or have a second home somewhere else.
Yep.
If you have the finances to do that.
Yep. So it's a very enticing idea.
It is. I don't know if I can do it. I mean, I would like to do it, but I don't know if I.
Would you? Would you like to do it?
Smart.
If you had the funds, would you do it?
Well, here's the thing. Being single, if I were in a relationship and my partner wanted to do it, mm-hmm. that would give me more. I would more want to do that.
Right.
But if it's just by myself,
mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd do it.
It's not for everybody, and as we said, it's a daunting task preparing for it mentally, and also just financially, and also physically. So there's a lot of things. It can be scary, but I would say I agree with you. It's definitely a growing trend. It is definitely getting a lot of popularity and a lot of press.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is do your homework, talk to anyone who's done it or is thinking about doing it, talk to experts, because there's so many things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
If you don't, I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's so many resources out there and so many people to do it, to talk to about it, because that's a big life change.
Yep.
To want to do that. One
can dream. I might call George back and see if we want to get together and maybe let me come to Lake Como again.
I'm sure he's got the space for you.
Yeah, in his heart. So did we cover this one well, do you think?
I think so. Yeah. No,
okay.
Hopefully it's opened up some curiosity in folks who maybe
Yes.
haven't considered it and maybe we want to.
Yes.
Do your research, check out Silver Nomads. One of the websites is called International Living, I believe.
Okay.
And they have a lot of information there. So there's definitely a lot of information out there to...
Yeah. And you know what's good, Gary? All the sources that we're using today on this podcast, I'm going to put on our blog, on the blog page for this episode.
Silver Nomads.
Okay.
Nomads.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of things out there. There's also another podcast that I listen to called Where Gays Retire, which is this gentleman, his name is Mark Goldstein. So Mark, if you're listening, and we hope to get you on the podcast sometime, he actually does this really cool podcast called Where Do Gays Retire? He actually goes to different couples or individuals who've retired outside of the country, and he talks about that experience, including the country itself. And again, I think eventually we're going to go on to talking about communal living soon, because that's actually another trend that's developing. Right. For now, do you think we covered the topic well?
I think so, because you got someone behind you who's probably needing a little walkie.
Oh, yes, he does. So if we're ready to shut this one down, I'll ready to shut you down because, I'm done talking to you.
Yeah, well.
Anyway.
Yeah, shut it down.
Okay, thank you for joining us at Don and Gary Doin 60. We hope you enjoyed spending quality time with us. Join us next time as we discover we are a few sandwiches short of a full picnic.
Now I'm hungry.
Don't forget our new website, hosted by Podpage, and I'll be posting that in our links so you can see where all that is. We're available at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube at Pfeiffer Pod, on Instagram. But again, we really want to push you to that website so you can leave us voicemails and leave us comments. I'll be posting all of that in the bio below on our notes inside the pages on YouTube and on Instagram and on the website. So, Gary, I'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, talk to you later, Gator.
All righty.
Bye.
Keep your passport current.
Yes. Don't forget to spay and neuter your pets.